Thank you, Speaker. Honourable colleagues, I rise today to pay tribute to Queen Elizabeth II for Her Majesty's 70 years on the throne and celebrating her Platinum Jubilee. Queen Elizabeth II is only the 8th Queen of England, and her reign is not only a remarkable length of service, but an example of leadership to the Commonwealth and to the world. Queen Elizabeth II is a living example of stability, stoicism through many difficult global events over her 7 decades as monarch. Her reign has no shortage of historic points, starting with her pledge in a speech broadcast on the radio from Cape Town on April 21st, 1947, when she dedicated her life to service. Her reign began when she was 25 years old, following the death of her father, George VI, on February 6, 1952. Queen Elizabeth II has made countless trips throughout the world, including 22 official visits to Canada, the first being in 1951 as Princess Elizabeth, where she visited the place in place of her father, who was ill, and the most recent visit in 2010. She had an official visit to my home province in 1978, visiting St. John's, Deer Lake, Corner Brook, and Stephenville. There were also many stops in Gander, but most were not considered official, as they were simply to refuel. I was in Bonavista when the Queen visited there in 1997. My eldest son, Luke, who is now 25, and many of you have met him, was 3 months old and in my arms. My maternal grandmother from Tottenham in North London, Ruby Elgin, joined the Women's Auxiliary for the war effort, and later was part of the team that catalogued the gifts to the Queen upon her ascension to the throne. She was so proud of that and would always show me her scrapbook of those times. I was very proud of her. She'd be humbled having her name mentioned in the Senate of Canada. I met Her Majesty, and that's what we were told to address her as Your Majesty, and Prince Philip was to be addressed as Your Royal Highness. I met Her Majesty a few years ago and wanted to mention that story about my grandmother, but I chickened out in favor of protocol. I regret that now. Years, Queen Elizabeth II has met with numerous Indigenous groups, including being greeted by the chief of the Montagnais and given a pair of beaded moose hide jackets. In 1976, the Queen received an Alberta First Nations delegation at Buckingham Palace. In 2010, Queen Elizabeth II presented to Her Majesty's Royal Chapel of the Mohawks and Christchurch Royal Chapel set of handbells to symbolize the councils and treaties between the Iroquois Confederacy and the Crown. A champion of unity and democracy, her legacy, and her remarkable achievements are deserving of celebration. I will mark this historic occasion and pay tribute to Canada's longest reigning sovereign and to the first to celebrate a Platinum Jubilee. I will take some time to reflect on this historic moment and reflect on the role of my grandmother, my province, my country, my all too brief meeting with her, and my oath to Her Majesty over 9 years ago. Thank you, colleagues.